Every summer, gardeners across the country find themselves drowning in zucchini. You plant 2 seeds, maybe 3, and suddenly you are leaving bags of the stuff on your neighbor's doorstep, sneaking it into coworkers' cars, begging anyone to take it off your hands. And here is the cruel irony of the whole thing. After all that abundance, after all that effort, zucchini lasts maybe 5 days in your refrigerator before it turns to mush. You cannot store it, you cannot preserve it without processing, and the moment frost hits, your plants are dead and your harvest is over. But what if I told you there is an entire category of vegetables that solve every single one of these problems? Vegetables that store for 6 months, 12 months, some varieties pushing 2 years without any refrigeration at all. Vegetables that plant themselves, coming back year after year without you lifting a finger. Vegetables that laugh at the diseases and pests that destroy your summer squash. These are not some exotic superfood from the Amazon or a genetically modified creation from a laboratory. These are winter squash varieties that humans have been growing for thousands of years, and somewhere along the way, we forgot about them. Let's start with the most impressive of all, the Seminole Pumpkin. This squash has a storage life that borders on the absurd. 6 months is typical, 12 months is common. Gardeners regularly report keeping these on their kitchen counter for well over a year with no refrigeration and no special treatment, just sitting there waiting to be eaten. The secret is in the rind. A Seminole pumpkin develops a shell so hard you practically need a hacksaw to get through it. People describe cracking them open like coconuts because that is genuinely what it takes. That impenetrable exterior creates a natural preservation system that our ancestors relied on for centuries before refrigeration existed. The Seminole, Calusa, Creek, and Miccosukee peoples of Florida cultivated this squash as a staple food, knowing they could harvest in fall and eat well into the following summer and beyond. When European settlers arrived, they found these pumpkins growing wild throughout the Southeast, proof of just how well this plant takes care of itself. The blue Hubbard squash tells a different story, but reaches the same destination. This massive blue-gray squash originated on ships traveling from the Caribbean to Massachusetts in the 1800s, and it became the storage squash of choice throughout New England for generations. A single blue Hubbard can weigh 15 to 40 pounds, which means one squash feeds a family for weeks. Store it in a cool cellar, and you are looking at 6 to 7 months of viable food from a single fruit. Our great-grandparents did not have chest freezers or vacuum sealers. They had root cellars, and they had squash varieties specifically bred to last through brutal northeastern winters. The blue Hubbard was their answer, and it still works exactly the same way today. Then there's the butternut, probably the variety most familiar to modern shoppers, though almost nobody uses it the way they should. Most people buy a butternut squash, roast it that week, and never think about long-term storage. But a properly cured butternut will last 5 to 6 months sitting on a shelf in your pantry. It's the sweetest of the common winter squashes, with that rich orange flesh that gets even sweeter the longer you store it. And that brings us to something most people do not realize about winter squash. Storage does not just preserve them, storage actually improves them. After harvest, squash continues converting starches into sugars. The scientific literature confirms that sucrose and carotenoid contents increase during storage. A butternut squash eaten in January is genuinely sweeter and more nutritious than the same squash eaten in September. Now let us talk about something that changes the entire equation of gardening: self-seeding. If you depend on buying seeds every single year, you are dependent on that system: seed companies, shipping networks, and supply chains. You are one disruption away from not being able to grow food. But winter squash, particularly Seminole pumpkins, have a habit of taking care of this problem for you. Let a few fruits fall to the ground in autumn. Do not clean up every last squash from your garden. Come spring, you will find volunteer seedlings emerging everywhere. Gardeners report them climbing through trees, trailing across lawns, and popping up in compost piles where they tossed last year's seeds. These are not weak, sickly volunteers either. Self-seeded squash often outperforms deliberately planted specimens because the seeds went through natural cold stratification over winter and germinated exactly when conditions were right. Winter squash seeds remain viable for up to 6 years when stored properly, meaning one good harvest can supply your planting needs for half a decade. But here is the real freedom. Once you learn to save seeds and allow natural reseeding, you stop being a customer and start being a grower. You are not waiting for the seed catalog to arrive. You are not checking if your favorite variety is in stock. You have seeds. You always have seeds. And your plants are adapting to your specific soil, your specific climate, your specific conditions, getting stronger and more reliable every single generation. Climate resilience might be the most underappreciated advantage of these squash varieties. Every summer, gardeners watch vine borers destroy their zucchini and summer squash. These insects tunnel into the stems, killing plants that were producing beautifully just days before. Downy mildew strikes next, turning leaves yellow and stopping production dead. These two problems alone eliminate most squash harvests before they reach their full potential. But Seminole pumpkins and other Cucurbita moschata varieties possess natural resistance to both threats. The scientific literature and countless gardener reports confirm that moschata species are the squash of choice in Zone 6 and South, specifically because vine borers struggle to damage them. Gardeners from Florida to Tennessee consistently report excellent disease resistance. Seminole pumpkins take summer heat and humidity in stride, while similar conditions would destroy a conventional garden. For warm climate gardeners, there is another option that takes resilience even further. Chayote is a perennial squash. That means you plant it once, and it comes back year after year. A single established chayote plant can send vines 20 to 30 feet in every direction, producing 50 to 100 squash per plant per season. No replanting, no buying seeds, no starting over. Just harvest and harvest and harvest again. The nutritional profile of winter squash deserves more attention than it typically receives. Cucurbita moschata varieties are rich in carotenoids, the orange and yellow pigments that convert to vitamin A in your body. They contain significant dietary fiber, essential minerals, and phenolic compounds that researchers are actively studying for health benefits. The scientific literature indicates potential anti-obesity, anti-diabetic, antibacterial, and even anti-cancer effects, though more research is always needed. What we know for certain is that caloric density matters for food security, and winter squash delivers substantially more calories per pound than summer squash, like zucchini. When you are growing food to actually feed yourself and your family, that difference matters. To achieve maximum storage life, you need to understand curing. This is the step most people skip, and it makes the biggest difference. After harvest, winter squash needs about 10 days at 80 to 85 degrees Fahrenheit, with 80 to 85% humidity. During that curing period, excess moisture evaporates from the flesh, the skin hardens and seals, and natural sugars concentrate. You can cure squash outdoors in warm weather, in a greenhouse, near a sunny window, or even in a warm room with a humidifier. The investment of 10 days transforms a vegetable that might last 2 months into one that lasts 6 months or longer. After curing, storage conditions matter, but they do not need to be perfect. A dark, well-ventilated area around 50 to 55 degrees with 75% humidity is ideal. But millions of people have successfully stored winter squash in spare bedrooms, closets, and unheated spaces throughout history without precise climate control. The key details are these. Squash should not touch each other to prevent any rot from spreading between fruits. They should not rest directly on hard surfaces, which can cause pressure spots that deteriorate first. And they need some air circulation to prevent moisture buildup. Different varieties have different storage windows. Acorn and Delicata last about 2 months. Butternuts go 2 to 3 months typically, though well-cured specimens can push longer. Hubbards store 5 to 6 months reliably, and specialty varieties bred for storage, particularly Seminole pumpkins, routinely reach 9 months to well over a year. Compare all of this to zucchini. 3 to 5 days of refrigerated storage versus 6 to 12 months at room temperature. Complete susceptibility to vine borers versus natural genetic resistance. Low caloric density versus high caloric density. Constant replanting versus volunteers appearing on their own. There is no comparison. Zucchini wins for speed to harvest and for total summer volume. But for actual food security, actual resilience, and actual independence, winter squash outperforms in every category that matters when times get difficult. Starting your own winter squash program requires nothing more than choosing one variety and committing to saving seeds from your best performers. Seminole Pumpkin makes the easiest starting point for warm climate gardeners, while Butternut provides a familiar entry point for anyone. Plant your seeds after your last frost date, give the vines room to spread, and otherwise leave them alone. These are not fussy plants. They don't want constant attention. They want space, sun, and time. Come autumn, harvest your squash, cure them properly, and store them in the coolest, driest, darkest space available. Let a few fruits fall in the garden and decompose naturally. Save seeds from the squash that stored longest and tasted best. Plant those seeds next year. Repeat this process annually, and within 3 to 5 seasons, you'll have a squash variety specifically adapted to your soil, your climate, and your growing conditions. You'll have seeds for the next 5 years. You'll have food stored for the next year. And you'll have plants that come up on their own even if you forget to plant them. This is what food security actually looks like. Not expensive survival food in buckets. Not complex preservation equipment. Just the same crops that kept humans fed for thousands of years before we decided we needed to reinvent everything. Your ancestors knew about these squash varieties. They depended on them. And somewhere between then and now, we traded genuine resilience for the convenience of buying everything fresh, every week, from a system that could fail at any moment. The knowledge isn't lost. The seeds are still available. The methods still work exactly as they always have. The only question is whether you're going to keep growing food that rots in a week or start growing food that feeds you all year long. The transformation happens faster than you might expect. One season of growing winter squash teaches you more about food independence than years of reading about it. You'll watch those hard-shelled fruits cure on your porch while your neighbor's zucchini plants succumb to borers and mildew. You'll walk past your stored squash in November, December, January, February, knowing that food is there whenever you need it. You'll find volunteer seedlings in May without having planted anything, nature doing the work for you. And you'll start to understand why civilizations rose and fell based on their ability to store food through winter. This isn't about going backward, it's about going deeper. Modern gardening has made us dependent on annual purchases, constant inputs, and systems that operate far beyond our control. Winter squash offers something different. It offers the same security that humans relied on for millennia, updated only by our better understanding of curing temperatures and storage humidity. The plants haven't changed. The benefits haven't changed. Only our attention has shifted elsewhere. It's time to shift it back. Start this season with one variety. Save seeds. Store your harvest. Let the volunteers grow. Within a few years, you'll wonder why anyone ever thought zucchini was the better choice.